Hi there, welcome to the Suburban Cauldron. This is our very first episode and we are super excited. Believe it or not, for the first episode, we're actually going to set the cooking aside this time and we're going to talk a little bit more about getting your kitchen ready. And what I mean by ready is we all have a good, nice, clean kitchen that we want to work with. But if we're working magic in our kitchen, we also want to really focus on having an energetically clean space. So we're going to talk a little bit today about cleansing your space as well as cleaning your space. As we talked about in the intro and just as we move forward, we're going to mention here and there, our goal is to be able to kind of double team what we're working on. So we want to be able to work the magic at the same time we're doing something that we would normally do anyway. So that's where we're at. Real quick mention for my newbies, when we talk about cleansing a space, just as a mention, what we're talking about there is to remove and work with the energies in the space that you're working in. So with a kitchen, whether you are just yourself, whether it's you and your nesting partner or you and your family and your kids, or even if you're hosting a party, the way kitchens work, everybody at some point ends up in the kitchen just because that's where the food is. So this ends up being a really main focal point of your house. And that means that the energies in your kitchen are swirling all over the place. You've got positive, you've got negative, you've got fear, you've got aggression, you've got love, you've got passion, you've got all the things happening in your kitchen. And that is going to affect the work that you're doing and the magic that you're working in your kitchen. So we're going to cleanse that space. We're going to remove all of the energy and get rid of the bad juju and bring in all of the positivity and the love and the peace so that when we get to being ready to cook and work that magic, our space is clear and our positivity and whatever intentions we're putting in our magic have a clear path to do that. So as we all know, there are a number of different ways to cleanse your space. It starts with everybody's favorite and the most common is your incense and your smudges. So we're talking things like your sage smudges, your sweet grasses, Palo Santos, those kind of things. You can use these in bundles, you can buy them as sticks or as cones, and that smoke fills that space and removes all of the, you're removing that negativity and everything that goes with it from your space. However, I know that there are some people who are extra sensitive or I put quotes up, smoke sensitive at certain times or just in general, they have asthma or whatever the case is. Or perhaps you live in an apartment building or even a dorm where it's a no-go on the smoke, right? It's not allowed for incenses and sometimes they even get a little wonky about candles. So smoking and smudging is not necessarily going to be an option for you. So in those instances, we got to come up with something different. There are secondary to the smudging in popularity, I would think, is sound and sound waves. You'll see a lot of people that have bells and wind chimes or other chimes hanging around their kitchen. That sound helps to remove negative energy. It helps to clear the space. Some people will clap and chant at the same time, or they will drum and chant at the same time. Ultimately, we're removing all of the negative energy as we're speaking our words and bringing in the positive vibes as well. You can also use tuning forks, or since we're in the kitchen, a really, really great way to use sound is the champagne glass trick that makes that beautiful whistling sound as you move your finger around the rim of the champagne glass. Those the sound waves as they move out, you really just imagine and picture pushing all of that negative energy out of your space. Do remember, as you're cleansing your space, you want somewhere for the negative energy to go. You don't just want it to leave your kitchen and end up in the living room or in your bedroom or somewhere else. So make sure you have a window open somewhere else in the house so that we're kind of clearing that out. Also make sure that as you are clearing the space, you are not just leaving a void. So we're going to remove the negative energy, but now there's a void, and that can certainly create space for more and more powerful negative energy to move in. So we're going to fill it instead with the positive vibes at the same time. So a lot of times when you're working your energy cleansing, you want to remove and then bring in at the same time. Those two options are very active ways of cleansing your space, and yet there are also passive ways to do that. A very common passive way is something that we call a crystal garden, which is basically a dish. I usually start mine with a base of salt or sand for my crystals to land on, and then we just use certain stones that are really good at grabbing that negative energy and grounding it out and getting rid of it in that aspect. So selenite is a really good one. Selenite's a fantastic stone just based on the fact that it can absorb the negative energy and ground it at the same time. So you don't necessarily need to cleanse and charge your selenite nearly as often or even at all, depending on the size of the stone and the amount of energy going on in your house. That's just a really nice stone because it's kind of a set it and forget it kind of stone. Amethyst is kind of the sister to selenite. It works really, really well in absorbing negative energy. However, amethyst doesn't just ground it out on its own. It does collect it and it removes it from a space, but it holds on to it. So eventually it'll get to where it's not absorbing as well, and you may even get a point where you get a broken stone because it just can't hold anymore. And so amethyst is one that definitely needs to be cleansed and recharged on a regular basis. Aside from that, you can add so many other stones. I do really like to add salt to my crystal gardens just because, I mean, the Winchesters had it right, at least to that degree, in the fact that salt is definitely a purifying crystal and a purifying element, and it will really do a good job at cleansing your space. It'll help to cleanse your stones, it'll help to charge the space and purify things at the same time. So that's a really nice one. I like to add tiger's eye to mine just because tiger's eye speaks to me as a protective stone. It's a really nice one there. And then after that, you can add other stones that are going to feed into whatever energies you're working, whatever magics you're working. I think a couple of other stones that I might throw in there, I might throw in a moonstone, maybe a crystal quartz. Sometimes if you're really dealing with some illness or some super negativity in the household, throwing in a piece of black tourmaline or a smoky quartz can certainly help with that crystal garden as well. Crystal gardens you're going to put at an entranceway to your kitchen, something like that, just to create kind of that bubbly barrier as people come and go. So that's something to do. That's a very passive way of cleansing your space. But what we're actually going to do today is we're going to find a way to actively cleanse our space as we actively clean our space at the same time. So we're going to make a household cleaner that you can use on most surfaces. I say most, I'm going to tell you why I say most in just a little bit. But this is one that's pretty safe to use on most of your surfaces in your kitchen. But in addition to that, we're going to add some essential oils and even some herbs to it that are also going to cleanse the energy in the space as well. So where this starts, it starts with a base of white vinegar and some distilled water, and you just want a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. I like to use the one with the isopropyl alcohol. If you look up DIY household cleansers, you're going to find some that start with a base of baking soda and vinegar, which I always think is fun because it bubbles like crazy, or just vinegar and water. These all work really well. I like to add the isopropyl alcohol because it does work as a fantastic disinfectant at the same time. You do want 70% or better when you're making this. So remember when we started with the pandemic, the CDC was talking about, hey, if you're going to make your own hand sanitizers, cool, but it needs to be 90% or better. So there are certain things that isopropyl won't touch. The 70% won't work, but if you get a higher alcohol content, it will work. So I like to use these just as my base, just to really to get some disinfectant, just because I am in the kitchen cleaning. That being said, because I'm in the kitchen cleaning, the nice part about this is it is a natural product. You're not filling your kitchen with a bunch of chemicals and harsh chemicals that you get from the grocery store, and you're also not using bleach. That is one huge disclaimer I'm going to throw out there right now in this one. If you are using bleach and you're a fan of bleach, I'm just going to go ahead and put my opinion in there. We have better cleaners. We have things that exist that we don't need quite such a harsh and toxic chemical as bleach. But in addition to that, you can't really, it's just very unsafe to mix bleach with anything, especially things like ammonia, hydrogen peroxide, vinegar. These will all create toxic gases. So be really, really careful with what you're mixing bleach with. Just as I wouldn't recommend using bleach in your kitchen if you can avoid it, but I know some people are really, really connected to their bleach. So to each their own, just be really careful with what you're mixing. So with this, we start with this base, And then we add some citrus to it and some essential oils to it. So a couple of things that you can do with the vinegar. It does have a really harsh vinegar smell when you create your cleaner. So sometimes you can make your own citrus vinegar. You do this by just adding your orange peels, your lemon peels, grapefruit, whatever you've got that's a citrus peel. You put that in a jar, fill it to cover with white vinegar, distilled white vinegar, and then cap it with an airtight cap. You're going to set this in your windowsill, on the countertop, anywhere that's room temperature, 1 to 2 weeks. 2 weeks is better, and just give it a shake every day. And at the end of 2 weeks, you have a citrus infused white vinegar. It works really well. However, it is also a little labor intensive because you do have to remember to shake your jar every day. So if you don't want to go that route, you can certainly do other things to infuse with the citric acid. This is disclaimer number 2. Vinegar, citric acid. Do not use these on your natural stone countertops. So marble, granite, slate, don't use these. They will damage your countertop. So you'll have to find something to substitute. I think there are some really great cleaners that are dish soap based that work just as well. Okay. To our mixture of our vinegar, water, and isopropyl alcohol, we're going to add some essential oils. The oils that I have picked out are cleaning oils. They all have some cleaning and even some disinfecting properties to them, but they are also energetically cleansing, and that's why I really, really love this. So you're going to add your lemon is always a really nice one. It's a very nice cleaning oil. It has even some degreasing effects to it. And then I add pine to it. Pine is a cleaner and a cleanser. It's got some purifying agents to it, as does peppermint is always a really nice one. And then I like lavender just because of the peace and the love that lavender brings in. So again, that's going to be our sweetgrass version of the smudge after we do all the rest of it. So that's going to bring in the positive vibes, and it just has a really, really nice flavor to it. And then just because I like sage and I like to add sage to anything that I'm trying to use as a cleanser, I'm going to throw a little bit of sage into my container. It's not really going to necessarily spray very well. You got to be careful with how much you add because you don't want to clog your sprayer, but it is something that I like to add in there as well. If you don't have lemon, you can certainly do an orange oil if you want to do that. It all works. Ultimately, what you're looking for is the citric acid. That said, you can also just buy citric acid at the grocery store. So if you don't want to make your oil or buy your oil or make your vinegar with the citric rinds, you can buy citric acid. It works just as well. So what we're going to do, the other thing I'll throw out there real quick is you want a glass spray bottle. You can get this at any of your natural food stores. Some of the subscription services, things like that, will sell you a glass bottle. The essential oils and the vinegar don't work well with plastic. They eventually start to affect the plastic starts to affect the oils, and it's just not good any direction you look at it. So go with a glass bottle as you can. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do, my container is exactly 2 cups, and I need a little more than 2 cups for my recipe, so we're going to adjust it a little bit. So we're actually going to do 3/4 of a cup of distilled vinegar, 3/4 of a cup of distilled water, and 1/4 of a cup of my isopropyl alcohol. So we'll get that going here real quick and move on. The oils that I've used, I did actually test these out, you guys, and made sure that they're going to work well together as a flavor and a scent profile, and they're beautiful. It's a really, really great scent profile that comes out with those oils all together. So you mix that. You've got your distilled vinegar, your water, and about 1/4 cup of isopropyl alcohol. The alcohol does have a pretty hefty smell, so if you need to turn the hood on over your stove or you need to open a window, that's totally fine. Please do. And I don't have a funnel. I should, but I don't, so we're just going to be real careful with how we pour this in here. But this is going to work really well. While I'm doing this, you guys, I want to talk a little bit about how to clean and cleanse. So when you are working with energy, you do want to take a second and ground and center yourself. So I take 3 deep breaths, and I just really try to get myself in tune with myself and my own energies and how I'm going to move around my kitchen and what I'm working with. and then you want to ground and center. If you're not comfortable or you're not familiar with grounding and centering, you can do a little bit of research. There's a lot of different techniques to it, but ultimately it's a matter of re-establishing a connection with the earth around you and then really pulling your energy into wherever your center of power is. Again, it's personal for everybody. Mine sits here at my solar plexus. Some people are down at their belly button. Some people are up at their throat. Some people are up at their third eye chakra. It all really kind of depends, but you really want to ground and center yourself before you start doing this, because if you're carrying anything heavy, it's going to move with you into the energies that you're working with. So you want to really be centered before you start working. All right, so I've got everything in here, and I have mixed together my oils. What I've done is, because I really like lemon as a cleaner, I've done 20 drops of the lemon. I have done 15 drops of the pine. 10 drops of the mint and 5 of the lavender. So these are just going to create a really nice profile as they go in. I did add a little bit of the orange, so that's where the orange color comes in, just because I was playing with it a little bit, to be honest. Just to find that great flavor profile. You can also do this with like a cinnamon or a clove. That works really nice as well. Those are really nice. I'm just going to add a pinch or two. You don't need a whole lot because you really don't want to put too much in here and end up clogging your spray bottle later on down the road. So just add that in there, and then you're not just going to cap this and shake it up real good and call it good. You do want to say a few things over this. So what I would really say is just, talking to the energies that are in here. I have created this to clear my space and to remove any negativity, and that's what we're asking for. So I would swirl it a couple of times, 2, 3 times. 3 is the magic number, right? And as you're doing that, really consider and say, thank you for cleansing my home and cleansing my space. I ask and I charge this with the power of deity. Pick a deity that you work with. And I ask to protect my family and to only bring light and love into my space. Ta-da, there we go. Okay, now we have a happy household cleaner that we can use on our surfaces, and we're going to go through. So for me, as I clean my space, I'm going to move some things around here a little bit. I have a very open concept house. So when I come into my kitchen, I can't just go around my kitchen and end up in the same spot because I miss the island. So I come in my kitchen and I start with the entrance, and I come around and I hit the fridge, and then I come around and I hit the stove, and I come around and I hit the dining table that's behind you guys. And then I swirl back around and I stop here. This is my last space that I clean. And really, so it's more of a swirl, like Moana's stone, rather than an actual circle, but that's okay. A lot of people will clean in a clockwise direction. That's the direction that I go. We call that doshal or deosil, some people will say, but technically it's clockwise. Other people will say move in a counterclockwise or a Wiedersehen direction because we're removing. What feels right to you is what we're going to work with. Okay. As I clean, I am right-handed, so my first couple of swipes are going to be in a counterclockwise direction or a Wiedersehen direction as I clean my surface. Because 1, I'm right-handed, but 2, as I'm doing that counterclockwise position is to remove things and to banish things. So what I'm removing at this time is the negativity, any fear or aggression or anxiety, anything along those lines. So you're going to say something along those lines. If you say them out loud, awesome. If you say them in your head, that works too. I'm solitary, so sometimes I talk to myself all the time, and yet when I'm working, I do a lot of words in my head, so you'll just catch me in the kitchen cleaning away and not realize I'm working a spell at the same time. So that's kind of where we go. So it's really just something along the lines of I remove from my space any negativity, fear, or pain, and then I will follow that up with a clockwise drying or secondary wipe, and that is I bring into my space positivity, love, and peace, and that's where we finish things off, okay? The other thing that I will mention is for my newbies and for those veterans, we all know a huge part of magic and working magic is imagery and being able to see things as you need them to be in order to work with them. So when I'm cleaning with this cleaner and I'm cleansing my space, I will imagine and see my countertops covered in a black or brown dust or crud. And it gives you that negative bleh kind of feeling to it. But as I spray, what is coming out as it comes out of my bottle, what is coming out of my bottle is a white light, and it lands on the black dust. And so I remove from my space any negativity and pain and anxiety or fear. I bring into my space positivity, love, and peace. And once I'm finished wiping that counter down, what I've got now is a pristine, white, shining, glowing countertop that I know the energies have been cleansed in that space. The final thing that I will do as I am all finished cleaning and I'm happy with everything and everything's put away and the dishwasher's running and all the stuff's going, I'm done cleaning. I will wrap up in my final spot and I will just reground and recenter, and I will close my eyes and just commune with my kitchen. I will imagine the positive colors, pinks and whites and purples and blues, a lot of white swirling around me and swirling around the kitchen, because that's the energy that I have brought in. And I will just be at peace in my kitchen and say a quick thank you and say a quick blessing to my kitchen for any work that I want to do coming up, and really bring in that love and peace that I want to share with my family. So guys, that's cleaning your kitchen and cleansing your space at the same time. I hope that you have enjoyed this. Our next episode is actually going to be getting down with some cooking, so I'm super excited about that. Join us next time. We'll see you soon. Blessed be.